Welcome to Chasing Curiosity TV. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. The air crackles with tension over the South China Sea. This vast expanse of water, stretching from the coasts of the Philippines to the shores of Vietnam and China, has become a flashpoint for global anxiety. The clouds above seem to mirror the uncertainty below, as rival ships cut through the churning waves, each one a symbol of national pride and ambition. The BRP Sierra Madre, a rusting Philippine vessel, stands as a symbol of sovereignty at Second Thomas Shoal. Once a proud warship, it now serves as a lonely outpost, its corroded hull battered by salt and time. Yet its presence is a daily reminder of the Philippines' determination to hold its ground in these contested waters. Today, it faces a blockade by massive Chinese Coast Guard ships. These imposing vessels, painted in stark white and blue, form an unyielding wall, their engines rumbling as they shadow every move of the smaller Philippine boats. The standoff is tense, with each side watching the other, waiting for the next move. Their water cannons are primed, intentions clear. With a sudden burst, torrents of water lash out, drenching the supply boats and sending a message that is impossible to ignore. This is a contest of willpower, and neither side is backing down. The Filipino crew's mission, deliver supplies to Marines on the Sierra Madre, is fraught with danger. Each crate of food, water, and medicine is a lifeline for the Marines stationed on the battered ship. The sailors move quickly, their faces set with determination, knowing that any delay could mean disaster. China calls this a violation of its sovereignty. At press conferences and in official statements, Chinese leaders assert their historic rights over these waters, waving maps and documents as proof. Their message is unwavering. The South China Sea is, and always has been, an integral part of China. The radio blares warnings, demanding retreat. Crackling through the static, voices in Mandarin and English issue stern commands, ordering the Philippine vessels to turn back or face the consequences. The tension in the air is palpable, as every word could be the spark that ignites a larger conflict. A single misstep could ignite a conflict beyond these waters. The crew's nerves are stretched thin, every decision weighed with the knowledge that the world is watching. One wrong move, one misunderstood signal, and the standoff could spiral into open confrontation, drawing in nations far beyond the South China Sea. August 15, 2025, marks a peak in tensions. On this day, the world's attention is riveted to this remote corner of the globe, as headlines flash across screens and analysts debate the next steps. The date becomes a symbol of how quickly peace can teeter on the edge. The world's busiest shipping lanes are now a theater of brinkmanship. Every day, thousands of ships, carrying oil, electronics, and food, thread their way through these contested waters. Any disruption here could send shockwaves through the global economy, raising the stakes for every nation that depends on these sea routes. The stakes are high: rule of law, freedom of navigation, and regional stability. International treaties and maritime laws are put to the test, as navies from around the world conduct patrols to assert their rights. The question looms: will the rules that have kept the peace for decades hold, or will they be swept aside by force? For the Philippines, it's a fight for sovereignty and future. The Marines on the Sierra Madre stand as sentinels, their resolve hardened by months of isolation and uncertainty. For them, this is not just a political dispute. It is a daily struggle for dignity, survival, and the right to call these waters home. For China, it's a non-negotiable claim. The presence of Chinese warships and Coast Guard vessels is a constant reminder of Beijing's determination to enforce its vision of order in the region, no matter the cost or the opposition. For the US and its allies, this is a test of commitment to international order. American destroyers and Allied warships sail these waters, signaling that the world is watching and that the principles of freedom of navigation and peaceful resolution must be upheld. Here, the thin red line between peace and conflict is drawn and erased daily. Each encounter, each maneuver, redraws the boundaries between dialogue and disaster, between restraint and escalation. The world watches, wondering if peace will shatter under superpower ambitions. In capitals from Washington to Beijing, leaders weigh their options, knowing that the fate of the South China Sea could shape the future of the entire region, and perhaps the world itself. Admiral John C. Aquilino, the commander of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, has issued a stark warning about the escalating danger in the South China Sea. As tensions rise in this critical maritime region, his voice carries the weight of both authority and deep concern. The South China Sea, a vital artery for global trade and security, is becoming a flashpoint with far-reaching consequences. His words, shaped by decades of military experience and first-hand knowledge of the region, are chilling and urgent. Aquilino does not mince words when describing the gravity of the situation. He has witnessed firsthand the growing assertiveness and military buildup in these contested waters. He highlights how China's actions have shifted from routine patrols to direct interference with foreign vessels. Chinese naval and coast guard ships now regularly intercept, shadow, and sometimes even harass ships from other nations, raising the stakes with every encounter. The risk of miscalculation grows with each tense standoff. A collision, an accidental weapon discharge, or a maneuver gone wrong could spark a crisis. The margin for error is razor thin, and the consequences could be catastrophic for the region and beyond. These incidents are not isolated. They are part of a broader campaign to normalize Chinese control over disputed areas, directly challenging the 2016 Hague Tribunal ruling that rejected China's sweeping claims. The construction of artificial islands and military outposts further cements this strategy. China's military modernization is proceeding at a breathtaking pace. Its navy is now the largest in the world, boasting advanced warships, submarines, and aircraft. This rapid expansion signals Beijing's intent to project power far beyond its shores. The Chinese Coast Guard and maritime militia play a crucial role in this strategy, using intimidation and coercion to assert control without triggering a full-scale military response. Their actions blur the line between civilian and military, making it harder for other nations to respond. In response, Admiral Aquilino calls for a unified and resolute international effort. He urges allies and partners to stand together, deter aggression, and uphold the rules-based order that has maintained peace for decades. Appeasement, he warns, will only embolden Beijing's ambitions, increasing the risk of conflict and threatening the fragile peace that underpins global prosperity. The crisis in the South China Sea is not just a regional dispute. It is a direct challenge to the international system that ensures stability, free navigation, and security for all nations. The world is watching, and the stakes could not be higher. China's strategy in the South China Sea has shifted from expansion to aggression. Artificial islands are now fortified military bases. China enforces dominance, policing waters as sovereign territory. The Coast Guard acts like a naval auxiliary, using force and intimidation. Chinese vessels ram boats, use lasers, and block fishing grounds. This aggression tests international tolerance and the resolve of neighbors. China's goal: control the South China Sea, squeezing neighbors out. Scarborough and Second Thomas Shoals are conflict hotspots. Scarborough, a traditional fishing ground, is under Chinese control. Chinese ships use force to block access, affecting fishermen and officials. At Second Thomas, the BRP Sierra Madre is a makeshift outpost. China blocks resupply missions, aiming to collapse the ship. These actions are a siege, testing Filipino courage and endurance. The struggle is a clash of law and power, with regional stability at stake. In the Philippines, ordinary people, fishermen, families, and entire communities find themselves on the front lines of a growing conflict. For many, the sea is not just a source of livelihood, but a way of life passed down through generations. Yet, these peaceful routines are now shadowed by tension and uncertainty, as the waters they depend on become a stage for international rivalry. Filipino fishermen, who have long relied on these ancestral waters, now watch warily as Chinese Coast Guard ships and fishing vessels patrol ever closer. The sight of foreign ships in their traditional fishing grounds is no longer rare, but a daily reality that brings anxiety and fear. Intimidation is rampant, nets are slashed, boats are rammed, and livelihoods are threatened. Each trip to sea carries the risk of confrontation, and many return with stories of harassment or damaged equipment, if they return at all. Filipino sailors, tasked with defending their nation's sovereignty, face even greater risks. Outmatched by China's modern and powerful fleet, they patrol in aging ships, knowing that any encounter could escalate into something far more dangerous. Resupply missions to outposts like Second Thomas Shoal are perilous journeys. Small boats must navigate treacherous waters, often shadowed or blocked by larger Chinese vessels, just to deliver food and water to isolated Filipino Marines. Against this backdrop, the U.S.-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty faces its most serious test in decades. Signed in 1951, the treaty promises mutual support in the event of an armed attack, but its relevance and strength are now under intense scrutiny. U.S. officials have repeatedly affirmed that the treaty covers attacks on Philippine forces in the South China Sea. These statements are meant to reassure allies and deter aggression, but questions remain about how far America is willing to go. China's assertive actions in these contested waters are not just a challenge to the Philippines, but a direct test of America's security commitments and its willingness to defend its allies. If the US fails to act decisively, it could undermine the confidence of allies across the region, weakening long-standing partnerships and emboldening rivals. The stakes could not be higher. The future balance of global power and the credibility of international alliances may hinge on what happens around these remote shoals and reefs. What might seem like isolated skirmishes at sea are, in reality, flashpoints that could draw in nations from around the world, transforming local disputes into global security crises. Each incident tests not only US credibility, but the stability of alliances that have underpinned peace in Asia for decades. The world watches as diplomatic efforts strain under the weight of rising tensions. The fate of these contested shoals is now inseparable from the question of American leadership in the region. How the US responds will shape perceptions of its resolve and influence for years to come. As joint military exercises intensify and diplomatic negotiations continue, the region's security drama becomes a real-world test of the treaty's strength and the unity of its signatories. Around the globe, governments, analysts, and ordinary citizens watch closely, knowing that the outcome of this standoff will have far-reaching implications for peace, security, and the rule of law in the 21st century. China's aggression unites international response. The US increases military presence and joint exercises with the Philippines. Balikatan exercises grow, addressing South China Sea threats. US support modernizes Philippine forces, signaling strength. A coalition condemns China's actions, supporting the Philippines. UK, France, Germany conduct freedom of navigation operations. Australia and Japan deepen defense ties with the Philippines. Diplomatic statements reinforce international law. Global condemnation isolates Beijing, pressuring moderation. International support reassures Manila, countering China's tactics. Global solidarity defends sovereignty and law, countering aggression. Beyond strategy, the human cost is stark. Filipino fishermen face Chinese ships, risking lives for livelihood. Coast Guard sailors brace for water cannon impacts. The psychological toll is immense, creating national anxiety. Viral videos fuel public outrage, pressuring government response. Nationalism and military hardware create a volatile mix. Commanders demonstrate strength, crews driven by duty. A single mistake could ignite regional conflict. The crisis accelerates, a powder keg ready to explode. Public anger narrows diplomatic options, pushing confrontation. The region teeters on the edge, a spark away from chaos. The human stories highlight the crisis's gravity. The potential for conflict looms, threatening peace. The world watches, hoping for reason to prevail. ASEAN's consensus model faces a test with China's aggression. China's leverage over members like Cambodia and Laos divides ASEAN. The intensity of China's actions pushes ASEAN toward unity. Vietnam and Malaysia watch Second Thomas Shoal with alarm. ASEAN's silence is breaking. Nations assert maritime rights. The crisis tests ASEAN's relevance and ability to respond. Diplomatic protests flood channels, dismissed by China. The cycle of incident and protest is grimly predictable. The crisis unfolds in real time, incidents constant. China's campaign aims to force acceptance of its claims. The world watches, aware of global implications. The South China Sea is vital for trade. A conflict would disrupt economies. The clash of visions, rules-based order versus power-based rights. The region is on a knife's edge, conflict a clear danger. The stakes are high. The outcome affects global order. The world hopes for reason, preparing for potential conflict.